They laughed at you, didn't they? When you spoke your dreams, when you moved differently, when you stopped playing their little games, they smirked, dismissed you as weak as someone who just doesn't get it. But listen closely that in a world run by masks, the most dangerous person is the one who doesn't reveal their face. The most powerful move. Let them think you're harmless until it's far too late. This is not a game of brute strength. This is the silent war of perception, and Machiavelli knew it centuries ago. Those who are feared are often feared too early, but those who are underestimated strike with surgical precision. So now I ask you, what if your silence was your weapon? What if every time they looked down on you, they were opening the gates to their own destruction? Because once you understand this, you'll never beg for respect again. You'll make them give it to you with trembling hands and broken pride. This is the art of invisible attack. Let me show you how it's done. That there's a moment before the kill, a second of calm before chaos. It's the look in the wolf's eyes, still empty, right before the leap. That moment is your advantage. You don't announce power. You don't need to. You let them write you off as too emotional, too naive, too soft. And while they mock you, laugh behind your back, leave you out of rooms that matter, you are watching, you are learning, you are plotting. The underestimated are never seen as threats until they become the architects of collapse. Take Marcus Crassus, Rome's wealthiest man, that he wasn't born with noble blood. He wasn't loved by the Senate. They looked down on him. A money chaser, not a warrior. But behind closed doors, Crassus controlled fire brigades, real estate, and silent alliances. He let the noblemen mock his lack of honor, right up until they realized their homes, their wealth, their power, all sat in his hands. By the time they took him seriously, it was too late. The game was already over. That is the Machiavellian move. Use their arrogance as your camouflage. Because you know what's even better than being feared? Being forgotten until they're already bleeding. And here's where most people fail. They react. They fight too early. They try to prove their worth. That's weakness, that's noise. You don't need validation from fools. You need patience. You become the shadow in the corner, the ghost in the room, the one they mock until they be at it. Starts with detachment. You watch how they move, what they crave, who they envy. You let them get comfortable. Let them think they're ahead, and while they waste energy keeping up appearances, you invest in silence, in skill, in strategy. Imagine you're the storm, hiding in a clear blue sky. They never see you coming, because they're too busy staring at the sun, and when you finally move, it's not loud, that it's lethal. I once knew a man they all laughed at. He was quiet, awkward, always one step behind in meetings. The kind people forgot to invite. They called him background noise. What they didn't see, he was building relationships, deep, real ones. Not the fake smiles and office gossip. He studied how power worked, where the cracks were. He waited. 1 year later, the company flipped. Executives gone, board shaken, and guess who was left holding the reins? The man they called invisible. He didn't demand their respect. He earned it by surviving their ignorance. He weaponized every smirk, every dismissal, every forgotten invite. And when it was time, he smiled. You want to be dangerous? Let them believe you're not. Because once someone sees you as a threat, they guard themselves. But if they see you as weak, they open the doors for you. They hand you the blueprint to their downfall. Your job is not to scream your worth, it's to let time do the screaming for you. And the beauty of being underestimated, you get to build in the dark. While they show off, you sharpen the blade. While they chase applause, you master the silent kill. But here's the thing. This path isn't for the impatient, it's for the wolves who can wear sheep's clothing. And never forget they have fangs beneath the wool. You're not here to play their game, you're here to burn the board while they're still taking selfies with the pieces. But don't get it twisted. This is war. And war is not about ego, it's about leverage, it's about knowing when to be seen and when to vanish. So let them underestimate you. Let them laugh. Let them sleep easy. You're just a shadow, right? Until that shadow becomes the hand that crushes their illusion of control. And now you feel it, don't you? That fire in your chest. That hunger to move in silence. To let every insult, every rejection become fuel. Because this isn't just about getting revenge. It's about never being overlooked again. And once you understand the next step, how to move without being tracked, how to twist perception in your favor, you'll realize the most powerful attacks are the ones they never even see. The most dangerous enemy is the one you didn't know existed. Not the loud one. Not the one barking threats in the open. No, it's the one who smiled while watching you bleed. The one who handed you a drink while loosening the cap on the poison. And if you're going to win this game, you must become that enemy. Invisible, precise, unreadable. Because when they don't know your next move, they can't prepare for it. And when they can't predict you, they fear you without even knowing why. You've already learned the value of being underestimated. Now you must master how to use it, to break their structure from the inside. Let me tell you a story. A man once walked into a world ruled by giants. Money, fame, connections, they had it all, and he had nothing. No name, no allies, no spotlight. They saw him as no threat, a background extra in a movie already cast. But what they didn't know was that he never wanted their stage. He wanted the strings, so he stayed quiet, watched how they moved, who they feared, what made them feel powerful. He didn't challenge them. He complimented them. He played the fool. Until one day, they were asking him for favors, for protection, for mercy. He had slowly bought the land beneath their castles. And when the towers crumbled, he didn't blink. That man now sits alone at the top. Not because he roared, but because he knew exactly when to whisper and when to strike. This is the art of the invisible attack. And it begins with a Machiavellian truth. People trust what they think they understand, so you must become what they expect. Until it no longer serves you, you must blend into their narrative. Let them think you're just another player, not a threat, not a rival. Just another story in the background. That's when you move. In business, in relationships, in power plays. Let them think you're clueless, innocent, naive. Let them feel superior. Let them get comfortable. Because the moment they lower their guard, you own the room. See, arrogance is a drug, and most people are addicts. They'll overdose on their own ego before they ever see your dagger coming. Your job isn't to confront them. It's to feed them enough illusion that they walk themselves into the trap you built with their own pride. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." And the fool is always looking for attention, always broadcasting their moves, always fighting battles in public. But you don't fight. You collapse. You don't bark. You bite. Once, quietly, permanently. That's why emotional control is non-negotiable. You can't afford to react. You can't afford to explain. Because every time you speak out of anger, you reveal your hand. And that hand should stay hidden until it closes around their throat. Control is your camouflage. Detachment is your blade. There's a woman I knew, a strategist in corporate warfare. Always smiling, always agreeable. People thought she was a pushover. They took credit for her work, ignored her suggestions, laughed behind her back. She said nothing. For 6 years, she said nothing. But quietly, she was building allies in silence. Finding out who wanted power but didn't want the spotlight. She made them feel seen, heard, valued. And then she struck. A single boardroom meeting, a single shift in leadership. She walked out of that room with everything they thought she could never touch. And none of them saw it coming because she never tried to prove herself. She played them like instruments, soft, subtle, lethal. That is the art. You become so forgettable. They forget to protect themselves from you. And the irony, by the time they realize who you are, you've already rewritten the script. But I'm not here to just teach you how to win. I'm here to change who you are. Because this isn't about revenge. This is about evolution. You are no longer the person begging for a seat at the table. You're the one building a new table. In a room they'll never be invited to. You'll walk into spaces where no one takes you seriously, and you'll leave owning the floorboards, because while they flex and pose and drown in their own reflection, you'll be busy forging weapons behind the glass. But remember this: if you become addicted to recognition, they will own you. That if you crave applause, they will manipulate you. That if you react emotionally, they will dismantle you. But if you wait, if you hold the storm behind your smile, if you study, observe, evolve, they'll never see it coming. Let them mock you. Let them sleep. Because the next time they look into your eyes, they won't see the same person. They'll feel it. The silence behind your stare, the precision in your presence, the storm you've become, and by then, their game is already lost. The moment you stop proving yourself, you become dangerous. Because now, you're not chasing their validation. You're not begging for their respect. You've moved beyond the game. They still think they're winning. This is your transformation. You've swallowed your pride. You've tasted rejection. You've felt what it's like to be invisible, ignored, dismissed. But that pain, that was never the end. It was the beginning of your rebirth into something cold, quiet, and precise. Most people think power is about being seen, being loud, being feared. But the truth is far more terrifying. Real power is invisible. It doesn't shout. It doesn't boast. It moves in silence and reshapes the world while everyone's looking the other way. You become a shadow that rewrites the rules. And that starts when you stop needing to be liked. See, the desire to be liked is the first leash. It keeps you soft, predictable, easy to manipulate. But when you no longer crave approval, you become untouchable. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And most people can't be both because they are too afraid to be feared. But you're done playing nice. You're done softening your edges for people who would destroy you if they had the chance. Now, your silence is no longer submission, it's strategy. Your kindness, a weapon. Your obedience, an illusion. You walk into rooms not to fit in, but to map the weaknesses. Because here's what most people never understand. The one who knows the most holds the most power. Information is the true currency. And when you let them underestimate you, they give it away for free. Their fears, their ambitions, their addictions. And once you have those, you don't need to lift a sword, you just whisper in the right ear. You don't destroy them in public. You bend their world until they break themselves. Let me show you. There was a man, soft-spoken, polite, always helping, the kind of man nobody feared. And because of that, everyone talked in front of him, openly, carelessly. They thought he was harmless, but he was collecting truths, watching who backstabbed who, learning who hated who, seeing who needed money, status, secrets. And one by one, he used what he learned to become the center. He didn't fight for power. He let it collapse into his hands. Why? Because he never demanded respect, he designed it. And that's what you must become. Not the loudest, not the fastest, not the most obvious, but the one they can't replace. The one who knows where the pressure points are and has the nerve to press them. It takes discipline. Because invisibility isn't glamorous. You'll be underestimated, you'll be laughed at, they'll think they're better than you. Let them. Let them think you're weak while you build the empire behind their backs. Let them speak while you listen. Let them shine while you sharpen. Because soon, they'll wonder how the floor disappeared beneath their feet, and they'll realize too late, you were the architect all along. You're not playing the game anymore, you're writing it. And when you write the game, you don't need to destroy your enemies. You just make sure the board favors you and watch them drown in their own rules. That's real power. And here's where it gets dark. The people closest to you, they'll be the first to resist your transformation. They loved the weaker version of you, the agreeable one, the one who didn't make them uncomfortable. But now you don't smile as much. Now your words are sharp, even when soft. Now your silence makes people nervous, Good. You're not here to make them comfortable. You're here to make them irrelevant. And it will hurt. You'll lose people. You'll be misunderstood. They'll say you've changed. And you've grown fangs where you used to have open hands. You've built armor over the wounds they mocked. You've stopped bleeding for people who never brought bandages. This is the transformation. Not into a villain, not into a tyrant, but into someone who sees the world as it really is. Cold, competitive, and cruel too. The unprepared. You are no longer the prey. You are now the strategist. And the final weapon you must master. Patience. The ability to outwait your enemies. To sit in the dark and feel nothing. To watch the world burn and not blink. Because the person who can delay their gratification the longest always ends up owning the game. You'll watch your rivals burn themselves out. You'll watch them overexpose, overtalk, overreach. And while they run for the spotlight, you'll pull the strings from behind the curtain. You don't chase revenge anymore. You engineer it. Slow, subtle, undeniable. By the time they realize the war was even happening, they're already buried under the consequences of their arrogance. And you're just watching everything you endured finally turn into everything they fear. So here you are at the edge of something irreversible. Not just a strategy, but a transformation. You've learned the power of being overlooked. You've tasted what it means to be dismissed, mocked, minimized. And now you understand the gift hidden in that pain. They didn't see you coming because they never believed you could rise. But that was their first and final mistake. Because the one they ignore becomes the one who controls everything. Let them underestimate you. Let them write you off. Let them build their castles on arrogance. You'll build yours on silence, precision, and truth. Let's go back. Remember the boy in school? The one nobody paid attention to? He wasn't the loudest. He didn't wear designer clothes. He didn't talk back or dominate the room. But he was always watching. And when the rest chased girls and parties and popularity, he studied. He learned how people lie. He learned how power moves. He learned how to endure isolation. And then, one day, that boy became the CEO. Not by accident, not by luck, but because while they laughed, he learned. While they wasted, he built. And while they sought applause, he sought control. The same people who ignored him now beg for meetings. The same ones who mocked his silence now fear his voice. Because the underestimated, when they rise without warning. And that is your path. Not because you want revenge, but because you've seen the truth. Loud people fade. Obvious power gets challenged. But silent power builds empires. Machiavelli didn't just speak of rulers and thrones. He was whispering to the invisible ones, the misfits, the watchers, the ones the world forgot. He knew, if you can endure being nothing, you can become anything. Because the greatest weapon is restraint. They show all their cards. You smile and fold. They flex their muscles. You walk past the fight. They insult you, and you offer silence. But silence isn't weakness. It's controlled. It's powered. It's strategy. And in time, it becomes the loudest message in the room. Now listen carefully. This world worships performance. Show them you're winning. Show them you're rich. Show them you're happy. But that's how they control you. By making you prove. Constantly. So what happens when you stop proving? You break the spell. You stop dancing for approval. You stop performing for the crowd. And that's when your moves become real. That's when your wins start cutting deep. Because now, everything you do is by design. Not for attention, but for impact. No announcement, no applause. Just results. A mentor once said to me, if they clap for you, they can also stop. But if they never see you coming, they can never stop you. And that's what I want for you. Not temporary respect, but unshakable power. Not fear through aggression, but influence through invisibility. Because when you walk silently through the noise, when you plant seeds in shadows, when you turn pain into fuel and silence into art, you don't need to take power. You become it, and that's the final truth. The most dangerous person in the room is never the one shouting. It's the one who already knows how this ends and says nothing. You've felt the betrayal. You've survived the disregard. You've been made to feel small. But from this moment on, you are no longer waiting to be chosen. You're not asking to be seen. You are the force they'll never see coming. Let them underestimate you. Because in their blindness lies your invisibility, and in your invisibility lies dominion. You are not the servant. You are not the shadow. You are the storm they didn't prepare for, and when you strike, it won't be loud. It won't be dramatic. It will be surgical, inevitable, final. Because your rise will not be televised. It will be engineered. Now go. Disappear. Master the art of watching without needing to be watched. Learn the map before you move the pieces. Hold your silence like a blade. And when the time comes, strike with everything they said you lacked. This is your time. And if they still don't see you, good. They'll never see what hit them. Now, if this ignited something in you, don't keep it silent. Comment below. Let them know you're done being overlooked. Like, subscribe, and watch the next video before they do. Because the world isn't waiting for you to be ready. It's waiting for you to vanish and then return as the storm. Let them underestimate you, but never underestimate yourself.